morning, folks. Hope everyone's having a great week. So today I'm going to be doing some mechanicing work. I know this isn't really homestead related in one sense, but in another sense, whenever you're running or working on a homestead or anything farm related, as my father-in-law says, that's life on the farm, things break, stuff tears up, you just got to work on it. So today it's rainy. I don't know if anybody's seen the news, but North Carolina has got a lot of rain. It is so muddy here. The ground is just nasty. So there ain't a whole lot that we can really do with the ground and land and stuff. Hannah fixed some of the raised beds on some of the last videos and stuff. I think it's just bad. And as much as I really don't want to do what I'm going to do today, I'm going to try to get started because I've sort of been putting it off. So I have a flatbed truck that I built, and when I say I built this thing, you'll see. I literally built it from ground up. Like I say, when me and my wife first met, I was really big into building just trucks, toys, basically, cars, whatever. That was what I enjoyed doing. And I still do to a degree, but I've sort of outgrown a lot of that. But I have one truck that I built really strong for what it was. It's a 1-ton sort of truck. But anyway, and I've needed to replace the intake on it for a while. Intake it's on it is warped. It's an aluminum intake. If any of y'all know mechanicals, you'll see and understand kind of what I'm saying. I work full-time as a large truck mechanic. I'm still not a professional. It's just my job. I did not go to school for this. Everything I learned from mostly my dad. Probably 85% of it was my dad. A lot of it was from my brother because he learned from my dad, and we learned by doing. The other percentage that I learned from studying and looking stuff up and finding out what other people done because it was stuff I was interested in. So I'll take you over to the truck and kind of show you what it is. Okay, so here's basically the truck. And if anybody notices that knows trucks, that watches, yes, that is an S10 little truck cab. No, it is not a Toyota. I've had it mistaken for a Toyota multiple times when I first built it. And as you can see, it's lifted. Like I say, I built this truck before me and my wife even met. Originally, it did not have the flatbed on it. It had a regular bed. I put the flatbed on it when we bought the farm so I could actually work it. But everything, and when I say everything on it, was ground up built. That's pretty much the case. For the ones that do know, it's sitting on 1-ton military axles, 14 bolt corporate, Dana 60 front. For those of you who don't know, that's just gibberish. I'll just be honest with you. If you're more into the animals and homesteading and stuff and just not mechanical, I don't blame you a bit. Just that's what it is. I got crossover steering. I literally started out with axles and built the truck from there up. This truck actually the cab came from Washington State. I was, full disclosure, I was in the Army. For any of those who don't know me, I deployed, done all that stuff. I'm not getting into politics or my past or what have you, but anyway, me and a buddy of mine from then bought the truck when it was stock, and I actually drove the truck plumb across country from Washington State here to North Carolina when I got out. So that being said, the cab sort of holds a little bit of sentimental value to me. That's the reason I have a hard time just selling it. But anyway, my problem, and I'm going to show you here, I'm going to open the hood. Okay, so my problem is that intake that's sitting right there, this aluminum piece. It's got a 350 in it, mildly built, mild cam. Again, for those who care. For those who don't, I'm taking basically this whole top section off today and going to be replacing it with a new one because I'm getting a lot of oil bypassing that intake into my block, and I'm going through about a quart a week, and it's either that or it's my oil seals on my pistons, best I can figure. I'm hoping it's the intake because the reason I'm jumping to that intake was a find, and when I found it, it had a bunch of RTV sealing on it, like a lot. And I'm thinking that was the reason they was having the same problem, having a hard time getting it to seal off. And it just started doing that oil issue right when I first started having the issue with it, right when I put that intake on. So that being said, I'm thinking that's what it is. Like I say, it's nothing pretty. This was not built as a show truck by no means. This was built more as an off-road toy rig, I guess you'd say. I'm going to be, because it is got ton axles and springs and stuff, I'm going to be using it basically as a four-wheel drive work truck on the farm. I don't do the off-roading thing anymore. Done a lot of it when I was in Washington and sort of got out of it. So yeah, that's what I'm sort of working on today. So I just wanted to clarify something. For all y'all out there that think you have to have a shop to work on your own stuff, to build your own truck. This truck I built in my backyard with no shop. I had a tarp and I had cut up a couple beech tree stumps to set the frame on, to level it up to a degree. And for those of you who think, well, he just built garbage, maybe. I've been driving this truck, and it was my daily driver for 6 years until it blew a head gasket, and I changed out the heads completely because when it blew the head gasket, I realized it cracked the head. So I went to a different set of heads, which is when I done the intake job, which was about a year ago. And I drove it everywhere. My wife, when we first met, she lived over an hour away, and I drove it to see her. So we swapped off every other weekend. And everybody's like, well, why don't you just get a new truck? We're trying to build a homestead. Would it be nice to have a new truck? Sure would. Would it be nice to have new payments? No. We don't owe for any of our vehicles. I got the air cleaner off. Just figured I'd kind of keep you up to date. I may put this on sort of a sped up time. I got the air cleaner off. I'm going to leave the carburetor attached to the intake. I'm going to pull the brackets off. I already got a couple of them off. They're laying right here. The support brackets for the serpentine belts. I'm going to take the distributor out and take all the wires loose and start taking the intake itself off. I'm going to drain the radiator so it probably is close because it was drained once earlier. So I'm going to make sure that's good, and then I'm going to pop that intake off. And once it's off, you'll see it's not as scary as some people let on like. A lot of people are overly intimidated by mechanicking because they're scared they're going to mess something up. As long as you keep, and I know this looks like a disaster to try to keep clean, but it can be done. Make sure there's nothing falls down inside. and just keep track of the parts. My problem is not keeping track of the parts, it's keeping track of the tools. This will save you a lot of money learning how to work on your own stuff, changing starters, changing spark plugs, changing carburetors, changing intakes, water jackets, just whatever. Stuff breaks. You use it long enough, it's going to break. Things happen. Ford, Chevy, Dodge, I don't care what kind of thing you have, you work on it eventually. So yeah. Anyway, let me shut up. Stop being so long-winded. And let's get back to work. Because as long as I got somebody to talk to, even if it's a camera, I tend to talk. A good use for these masks. It's great stuck in that little hole in the back that the distributor came out of so that nothing gets in there, right? Paper towel worked just good too. That's just what I had in the truck. Let's take these wires loose here that goes to the alternator. And, ooh, I got a little bit of damage there, so it's a good thing I got into this. We'll be replacing that for sure. And I got some hot wires here, so I'm going to go ahead and take loose on the battery. I have a kill switch, but just in case. One thing I hate about these intakes, these two bolts on both sides are a pain. They're not tight. That's not the problem. Well, it is the problem. They're tight to get to. The bolts themselves usually are not that tight. It's just you can't get your fingers, or I can't get my fingers, to get to them very good. That one over there is even worse because the throttle's on that side. Now different trucks are going to be different ways. This is a Chevrolet. It's a small block 350, very common motor. A lot of people run them. They ran them even in dump trucks. So very common to see and use. Good power for what they are, cheap to work on for the most part, if you do the work yourself, like I said. Yep, that's why we cover that hole up, because I just dropped it. Luckily it went to the ground, not to the down the motor. I mean, folks, if I can do it, anybody can do it, all right? I'm not the smartest guy in the world, by no means, even though sometimes I think I am. I might be the best looking guy in the world, but definitely not the smartest. Can't have it all, right? these look decent. And some of you are like, well, you could save those. No, you really don't want to do that. And I think I found my problem. I'm thinking it was the intake. So you see how smashed that top side is? This bottom side doesn't really look smashed at all. And whenever it would pull a vacuum down in there, I'm thinking it pulls the oil past it. Intake's out. That's what the inside of the block looks like. Cleaned up a little bit. I'm going to dry out a little bit more of it, and I'm probably going to take this camera out of the rain. It's starting to mist rain around a little bit, and I'll just get some clips when I get a little bit farther putting it back together. As you can see, not that big a deal, just time and a little bit of work. Okay, got that much done. It was a little bit of a job to get it just lined up just right. Used rubber gaskets on the front and back, the normal on the sides, Velcro. It's just a basic Advance Auto Special Edelbrock intake. Nothing fancy, guys. Trying to keep it simple and not go crazy with anything. Like I say, this truck is just going to be used to drive back and forth for work and a little bit of everything, hauling, things of that sort. So yeah, I got that much on. Now it's time to tear apart the other intake and put all the doodads on and get the distributor and everything set and in. I got started putting them back together, just to start. Got the intake on. Then it started raining. Not terrible, but bad enough that I don't really want to be out in it. It's not needed. It's not an emergency. So probably gonna post this and do a part 2. So yeah, I'll finish it up on another video and let y'all see it actually running, hopefully, and get the old truck back on the road running pretty regular. Right now I've been running a little S10 Blazer back and forth to work. Probably going to start running that again pretty heavy, because that S10 Blazer, guys, a V6, it went from 17 miles to a gallon to 9. If I'm going to get 9 miles to a gallon, I'm going to drive something that's big enough to do whatever I want to do with it, right? My 2-ton log truck gets better than that. So, something other's up with it. I hadn't really had a interest in tiring into it, because it runs. It just gets a terrible gas mileage all of a sudden. Anyway, yeah. Stay tuned for part 2. And I'll catch y'all guys later. See you guys.